Hey guys, welcome back to I Will Go Down with the Ship. I'm Heather,
I'm Chelsea.
and we are here to talk about Fallout Episode 2. So get ready. We are going to discuss just the episode in general, and we're going to talk about plot, how we can apply this to our own writing, as well as Lucy, the ghoul. I mean, I guess we'll mention Max a little bit because Max is
Yeah.
not a bad character. We don't hate him, but if we are talking within the context of ships, which is what this podcast is about, we like him as a character separately. We are interested to see how he grows. Chelsea has another crack theory, but our focus is going to be on our ship. So, Chelsea, why don't you start us off with the episode? Go ahead.
All right. So I rewatched last night with my husband Lake. It was a super good time once again. I loved that we got to see all of the characters converge in Philly and meet each other. That was absolutely excellent.
Yep.
And I think you and I were talking about this a little bit last night, and I discussed it with Lake also. And like I posed the question to him and asked him, like, do you see Lucy ever being able to go back to vault life
Right.
after this? And he was like, she might use one as a house, but I don't see her ever staying in it. Like she's gonna want to have access to the surface still.
Yeah.
I was like, exactly. It's like a Persephone moving into the underworld kind of thing. There is no going back for
Yep.
her.
Right.
And
I think the
I
only
love
way she goes back is to rescue Shet and Norman.
yeah.
Possibly that little group that she does care about. But in terms of like, there's no way. And I think we forgot to touch on in the first episode. It's very interesting because if we look at all three characters, right? We talked about their goals, but if we're looking at basic plot structure, um, each I mean, there's 8 episodes, so I like to do an 8-point plot, and so that first point is going to be that inciting incident, and each character has sort of left their normal life.
Right.
Lucy literally leaves the vault. The ghoul is awoken. Oh my gosh, was that grammatically correct? It was awakened, something like he's brought back to life from his grave. He moves out of the grave because he needs to get this bounty, and Max literally leaves the Brotherhood on this mission. They all leave their normal life, literally and figuratively, because now they have a goal and they have a trajectory in order to get that goal. Lucy wants to find her father. The ghoul wants to find his family. So, in order to find his family, he has to get money, which means he has to take these bounties. And this is how we wind up with a really awesome meet cute. And then Max wants to be a knight, but right now he's a squire. And so he's trying to sort of prove himself, if you will, in order to have taken on that role. I do want to touch on Max a little bit from episode 1 because I don't think we did that, but it was very interesting to see his friend Dane. They kind of snuck over there to look at the T60 body armor, and Dane was selected to be that squire and then randomly gets hurt. And we, at this point, we don't know if Max did it or not because Max was the one who kind of got in trouble or got caught looking at the T60s, right, Chelsea?
Right.
Yeah. And so suddenly, he is now given the squire role after Dane was hurt. And it was really interesting because me and my husband were talking after we watched that first episode initially. So we're blind to the rest of the series. And
Right.
I thought, I like, because at that point, it's like you want to give Max the benefit of the doubt. My husband was like, I don't know. He seemed like he might have done it. And I was sort of like, well, maybe the Brotherhood did it on purpose to get Dane out of the way to give Max the opportunity without blatantly giving them the opportunity, which I could see something like the Brotherhood like mind fucking everybody like that. Um,
Right.
but if you notice after Max gets that squire hood, you see him a little bit guilty, but you see him not. Like you see him,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So I think
I
we need
like
to
that
touch on that
he
a little
had
bit.
that admission of like he says, I didn't do it, but I wanted it to happen. It was
Yeah.
that bad. And that plays right into my crack theory
Mm-hmm.
about Max
Right.
and the fantastic potential I think he has to be a wonderful villain, like to have this excellent arc instead of, an upward trajectory, to take a downward trajectory and to become a really genuinely fantastic villain.
Yeah.
Like characters who have been bullied like he was by some of the other people in training at the Brotherhood make fantastic villains.
Oh yeah. And I think that watching that arc would be just so fascinating because we want to root for Max because there are instances where he is a good guy. Like when he and Lucy, again, with those fiends and they're crossing the bridge, which we will touch on when we get to that episode, it's like he does let her sort of, he gives her the opportunity to play it by her rules. Okay, we're not going to shoot. We're going to put our hands up. We're going to each cross the bridge. But it backfires on him. And so we see these moments where he wants so badly to be that good guy, but every single decision that he makes leads him in this sort of downward spiral. And it's like when we're talking about episode 2, he has sort of taken the armor. He is not telling anyone who his like what his real name is. Like he's hiding himself. That's
And I
fine.
loved watching that in episode 2, like the moment like Knight Titus is being such an entire bag of dicks to
Oh
him.
yeah.
I'm like, that what really solidified my he could make a fantastic villain theory is him sitting there watching Knight Titus die
Yeah.
after the encounter with the bear so he can have the armor and step into that role of knight. Like he's got the stim pack in his hand and Knight Titus is a dick to him again. And he's like, okay, I'm not going to give you the stim pack. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to look you in the eyes and watch you die. And then I'm going to take your armor and your name and your role in the world. And to
Mm-hmm.
me, that is just absolutely fantastic fabric for a villain.
Oh yeah. And I think it's interesting because if Lucy were in that position, she would for sure give him the stim pack.
Right?
No doubt about it. The ghoul definitely wouldn't. Cooper wouldn't. But that has always been Cooper's play. Like, whereas Max, we think he's gonna do the right thing. And then he pulls a fast one on us and he doesn't. And that's one of the things that's very intriguing about Max is that he's unpredictable. Like, I know Cooper, I know Lucy like the back of my hand because these are tropes that we play with in our own books. Like we get that. Whereas Max, I think he's going to do something, but then he does something else. Like if we want to skip a teensy bit ahead, when they're in Vault 4 and, like Lucy is dealing with all of the shit and he's just like chilling in a bathrobe, like drinking some wine and eating some cheese. I'm like, Max, like, what the? Or like no, and like when she's like you want to have sex and Max is like I was like girl is propositioning you and you are first of all we can talk about that when that episode happens, but that was a big, I mean, I already knew Ghoul and Lucy like since before they got on screen together, but that scene solidified everything for me, like
Right? Exactly.
especially as a romance writer, like I want the man to know what the hell he's doing, and we all know Cooper knows what he's doing. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Like, absolutely. There is no question in my mind that Cooper Howard knows exactly what he is doing.
And it's not just because he
He
has a
knows,
daughter. He knows.
right? Like, he knows exactly what he's doing, and I guarantee you, he knows how to make you scream his name.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I can just tell he's got that swagger that,
Mm-hmm.
like, you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
be screaming, shaking, and questioning if anything is real by the time he gets done with you. Like,
And you're
yes,
gonna beg him for more.
exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, so this is what's so intriguing about Max because when we meet him in episode 1, it's like we want to root for him, but then he makes those questionable decisions and you think he's going to get better because it's clear he wants to do the right thing. So, okay, so we also see Lucy, remind me, is this the episode where she meets the random farmer and gives him the water?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so why don't you explain that scene? I feel like that's a very save the cat moment for
Right, it
Lucy.
is. It's a fabulous save the cat moment, and it shows just what a good Samaritan Lucy is.
But
And
while
like,
also revealing her kind of her ignorance a little bit, because this guy, if I remember correctly, he's like not wearing pants.
yeah,
He,
he has like these denim cutoffs that are like
yes,
in the shape of underwear,
underwear.
like a denim diaper going on. Like it was a whole situation. And he's like helplessly banging on this water purifier that he keeps repeatedly filling with sand. And he's hoping to get water out of sand because
Yes,
he has lost his damn mind,
yes,
obviously.
obviously.
And she's like asking him for directions because that seems like a good idea. Like, oh, my sweet summer child,
I
thank
know.
you.
Yeah,
Like, and she like she was like, "Have you tried putting water in it?" And he tells her there is no water around here. And
right.
she's like, "Well, do you want some?" And she hands him her bottle of water, and like she says, "Do you want a sip?" And he like chugs the whole
Oh
thing.
my gosh, which
And
is
she's
going to be
like,
very reminiscent when Cooper and Lucy in a little bit. We'll touch on that a little
yeah,
later, but it's a little
exactly.
callback. So,
It is, and, like, he chugs the whole thing, and he's like, "When somebody offers you a bottle of clean water, you drink the whole thing, whether you're thirsty or not."
right. And that's
And
kind of good advice, to be honest. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
and I love that he proposed marriage to her, and he's like, "I'm probably not gonna live very long, this could all be yours," and she's just like,
No, thank you.
"Thank you. No." But, like, that was great advice for her, and
Yeah, and I
I
don't
was
think she took it seriously yet because I feel like this is her first kind of foray into like she's not sure what to expect. She's seen the Raiders, but she also knows that not everyone is like that. And so I love that even though she's had contact with the surface dwellers or whatever you want to call them, um she's still willing to help. She's still willing to stop and ask for directions. It hasn't changed who she is yet. It probably and like I'm talking like I know her, but I feel like she is like this was a random thing that happened to her vault that hasn't changed her perception of the world. And so I really really like that. And that's something I do want to touch base on. I think after episode when we do our episode 3 discussion, that she can go through the worst shit and she still retains who she is
right.
while also learning these lessons. So Lucy is going to Philly because she is looking for her dad and she's looking for Moldaver who stole her dad basically.
Yep.
Um so what
And
does she
she
find
meets
in Moldaver?
in Philly,
In Philly. Oh my gosh. Yes. Excuse me.
she meets Ma June at, like Ma June's trading post there.
Oh my gosh,
And
they're so
she
funny.
sees she sees all the vault tech stuff and like has her little adorable spiel about I assume you do business with criminals because all
Yep.
this stuff technically belongs to Vault Tech, and Ma June is just like,
No judgment. No judgment. Barb, get out here.
you
You're
gotta
real.
see this.
You gotta see this.
And like I love the whole interaction
Yes, I
with
do
Ma
too.
June, and like how much of a wake up call it
Yeah.
is for Lucy that like she is this privileged rich kid whose family hid her
Yeah.
underground while the rest of the world literally burned.
Right.
And like the she was so taken aback when Ma June told her, like, you know what we say about the vaults up here? And Lucy's like, what? And Ma June's like, fuck the vaults. And Lucy's
Yeah.
just like, but like 1,000% can see where Ma June is coming from with that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
absolutely. But I love that Lucy is still like willing to help Dr. Wilzig.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's reluctant because she wants to find her dad, but when she realizes that Wilzig has to go to Moldaver anyway,
Yeah.
who stole her dad, like this is gonna get her what she wants, and she's willing to help him, and like she's kind to
Yeah.
Wilzig.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think that it helped that when she was sleeping that first night, there was that huge cockroach and he happened to be right there and
Right?
he
And
he did treat her kindly.
CX404
Yep.
saved her from the roach and he like offered her advice.
Yeah, and he was kind to her. And I think that she saw someone that she could have like an intellectual conversation with. And he wasn't judging her. He wasn't being a weird, creepy like person. He was just literally offering her advice. He seemed to know a lot more about her. And I'm very curious about those, scientists. I'm very curious what they do
Right.
know.
I want to
Um,
know how the people at the Institute know what they know about
yeah,
Lucy's vault. Like, how did he have all that information? How did he know her last name?
right.
Like, how did he know all of these things? Like, I'm hoping we'll see more of him in flashbacks next season because, like, I know he's dead,
Yeah,
but like, I hope we see more of him in flashbacks and things like that.
yeah.
And also, can we just like take a moment to talk about what a good dog
Oh my
CX404 is?
gosh, so cute. And then
Because
when he
like,
like
oh,
ripped into that guy for threatening,
the
yeah,
threatening Wilzig. I was like,
yeah,
good dog.
I know.
Yes.
And
What a
that
good
and
puppy.
that's like to apply to your writing. This is the perfect save the cat moment again. And when we refer to save the cat, it's basically giving your character a quality that's going to endear him to your readers automatically. So he could be like it's almost like John Wick, or it's almost like Frank Castle. Like they have the same thing. They're very violent men, but you touch the dog and you're fucked. You're done. Like they love their animals. And it's like we as consumers, whether we're an audience watching or we're reading, we could give a shit about the humans. But if any harm came to the dog, and we will talk about Cooper in a second because he has his own save the cat moment in this. He had a kill the cat, save the cat, weird kind of cycle
I
moment.
I
But
loved what they did with that.
well, and if you look at the flashbacks with was his dog Roosevelt?
Roosevelt.
Roosevelt, right? Okay, so but yeah, I think that for Wilzik specifically, just the way that he saves the dog, trains the dog, and then like once they realize that he had the dog, he was like, well, fuck this, I'm gonna go because the dog is the most important thing to me. And again, I don't know if he was always planning to go to Moldaver with this, or if it just happened to coincide with, okay, they found out that he's, hiding this dog or whatever. I don't know.
I think he was always planning to go because he did inject himself with
Right,
the cold fusion device
right.
before they found the dog.
Yes. But I think he was forced to leave before planned
Sooner,
because of
yeah,
the dog.
exactly.
Um,
Because they discovered that he had the dog and had kept it for himself.
right. And so we're rooting for Wilzig. And then it turns
Yeah.
out, oh, he
And I
like,
hate
yeah,
everybody else at the Institute also
yes.
because of that opening thing
Oh
at
my
the
God.
Institute
I
where
thought
they
that was
throw that
Wilzik for a
puppy in the
second. Yep.
incinerator. And I
Hmm.
like, oh my God, I was so upset. I was like, I will fight that entire place by
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah. Basically. And yeah. And so again, it's that contrast because their job is to set up that this place is evil. So throw a puppy in a freaking incinerator, automatically you're going to get hate from it. There is no redeeming quality. But then you have that one scientist who saves the dog, who trains the dog, who hides the dog, who risks everything for this dog. Now, all of a sudden, we're rooting for this guy. We have no
Right.
idea who he is. We know he's part of this evil conglomerate who we fucking want to burn down. But this one guy and his dog, we're like, okay, I hope that they're okay. And especially after the dog saves Lucy from that roach, and even like he's such a loyal dog, like after like I guess we're getting ahead of ourselves. I'm getting ahead of the situation. So they're back in Philly. Wilsick is right there. And oh my gosh, I was waiting for this moment because I knew it was going to be epic, and it was fucking epic, dude. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Chelsea. Like, tell him what
I
happens.
I loved it. But like when our favorite ghoul threatens Wilzig, CX404 does its job, tries to protect Wilzig, and I was so upset because I came into this show wanting to like this Ghoul,
Yeah,
and then he stabs the dog, and I was like, "No, no, he better save that dog and give it a stim pack, or I'm gonna hate him for the rest of the show."
right.
And then we go through this whole situation in Philly, but thankfully, by the end of the episode, he does give the dog a stim pack, and I'm like, "Okay, okay, your character is saved for me. We're good
Yeah.
now."
Not even saved, but like we already know, like here's the thing. It's like the ghoul is an asshole, right? We already
Oh,
know this based on that first episode where he kills basically the people who rescue him, right? Like he only gives a shit about
exactly.
finding Janie, about finding his family. So the fact that he went out of his way to save this dog when under normal circumstances, let's be real, he's not going to give a shit. That to me shows that he has retained a very small portion of that humanity. And we see this in the flashbacks with like Cooper Howard pre-bombs, and we see that because he had such like the thing that, and we'll talk about this as the episodes go on, but essentially the thing that completely threw him from the vaults was you can't take a dog in a vault.
Right,
And like that to him was that was the line. It wasn't, you know, Barb, it wasn't any of that. But the second he found out about he cannot take Roosevelt, who starred in his own movies with him, I should say, that is
right.
how close they were. He couldn't go into the vault, then he was like, you know what? Fuck that. And so for him to save this random dog, who I'm sure in the 217 years he's been alive since those initial bombs dropped, he has not let himself attach to anything the way that he
Right.
was attached to Roosevelt. And so for him to save the dog, it's not so much, oh yeah, he saved an animal, but it completely contradicts in the best of way this character that we saw in episode 1 because he didn't
Right.
have to do it. And so that tells me he wanted to do it because he still does care. It's just very
And
internalized.
he's still that person. And,
Yeah.
like, speaking of episode 1, the moment with the chickens calling back to, like, the
The chicken
farm that he
fucker.
wanted to have in Bakersfield
Oh,
with
yeah.
Barb and wanting to raise the chickens, I was like, these moments that the writers built in
Yeah.
that, like, you don't catch the nuance the first time you watch, but on the rewatch, you're like, "Damn,
Right.
the layers, they're so fantastic, they're so great." And, like, getting back to the meet cute in Philly between Lucy and the Ghoul was so fantastic, and can we just have a moment of,
30
"Oh my
seconds.
god," like,
Yes.
for the scene where you see Cooper Howard sitting there,
Just
like,
watching.
fiddling with
Yeah.
his
Oh, yes.
hymns and just, like, watching and waiting and, like, for the shit about to start, I'm just like,
I'm like, I know it's gonna be good. Fuck. I know it's gonna be good. And it's like, you're telling me that you have Miss Sunshine over here interjecting and saying, excuse me, boys, there is a nonviolent way to handle this. And the guy who's been shooting anyone who even looks at him literally stops, cocks his head to the side, and kind of smirks like he's so amused by what she's saying. You're expecting me not to ship this? Like, are you crazy here? Like, this is the fantasy of all readers. Like, we love this shit all the way from the head tilt. And I don't know if Walton, I love how I'm just using his first name like I know him. Like, I don't know
right,
if he just improvise that because of the whole swag thing he has going on, or if that was an actual direction. But I like everything about it. And that's, I think, for me and you know, we are the crack shippers, but it's not our fault when you have two characters who look at each other like that, because he is
right,
not looking at Lucy thinking, oh, she reminds me of my daughter. Because if he was thinking that, that would be really much more weird than cousin stuff, okay? Like,
right,
not gonna lie.
for
So,
real.
Yeah.
No, but he's amused by her, and like
Yeah.
you can tell he's like laughing in his head
Yes. Oh
at this
yeah.
whole situation, but also you can tell that he's like kind of attracted to her a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know if it's the big eyes or
It's
like
the big eyes for sure. The innocence. I feel like it's that
right.
innocence. And it's not, and I don't mean like sexually. I mean like there's a little bit of an ignorance about her that's charming because it's
Right.
genuine versus everyone up here is shaded or jaded, shady, sketchy, cunning, selfish. Everyone's trying to play a game. Everyone's trying
Right.
to manipulate. And she is not. She is genuinely believing every single word that comes out of her mouth. And he recognizes that right away.
It is such a breath of fresh air to him, I feel like. And it also brings me back to the like the Beauty and the Beast theory a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. And like while we're touching on that, I'm
Do
gonna
it.
go ahead and bring it up before I forget. I very much feel like we have Maximus in a Gaston kind of role,
Yep.
where he is in this heroic place,
Yep.
but he's not really fulfilling all the heroic actions. He's not fully behaving in a heroic way. Like he does some things that appear heroic, but he's not living up to the heroism fully because of who he is at his core, which is a very, very ambitious person and a selfish person
Mm-hmm.
at his core. And like, I don't want to get ahead of myself with that, but like that it just plays into my crack theory that he would make an amazing villain. And I feel like, like it just lines up for me in my head that we have Lucy in the Belle role, we have Cooper Howard in the Beast role, and then we've got Maximus in the Gaston role, and it just lines up for me in my head.
Well, and to go off of that, I could totally see season two. Max thinks that Lucy is in trouble, that the ghoul, someone like the ghoul, has taken him. And because I don't think ghouls are not allowed in the Brotherhood, as far as I know. Like, I think I talked to my dad about this, who plays the games. And
Right.
like, and so he, based on his knowledge of the ghoul, thinks that the ghoul is a beast and is going to do bad things or try to do all of these things to Lucy. And we don't know. I mean, as far, and maybe you can help me out, Chelsea. Do you remember if Lucy told Max specifically what the ghoul did to her when they kind of go or team up? I don't remember. I
I
know
don't
she's
remember if she did or if she didn't.
I thought that she might have alluded to it, but I don't know if she specifically said I was with a ghoul and he did this. I can't remember. So during the rewatch, we'll touch on that. But I feel like he, like you said, he is going to get this hero complex. Even like I love how fitting it is that he is literally known as a knight in shining armor. And I think that he thinks he is going to be rescuing Lucy. And at because if you think about it, and again, we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but it's fine because I guess this is just what we do. Um, you know, he's knocked out basically the last 15 minutes of the thing, and they had promised, oh, we're gonna go back into the vault happily ever after, whatever. It's never gonna happen. So, like, the fact is, he's going to wake up thinking, oh, she was taken, she was kidnapped. There's no way that Lucy would go out of her way to choose to follow the school after the promise that she made for me. So, he's going to go after thinking the ghoul needs to be put down. And all the while, Lucy and the ghoul are going to be spending more time together. And if we had our way, falling in love. And I think
Right.
that that is where Lucy is going to tell Max, no, the ghoul is helping me. He saved me. He X, Y, and Z. He's not a bad person. And I feel like that's going to be the utter betrayal to Max because he's either risked a bunch of things for her, he's sacrificed things for her, only to find out, oh, just kidding. She likes the ghoul. She wants to be with the ghoul. And I don't necessarily mean romantically. And I think that that could be that pivotal moment that turns him to your like villain because he's trying to do all of this and now it turns out no. And so that could be Lucy's sacrifice, that she picks the ghoul over Max. But again, we're just jumping into uh you know theories. So which I
Right.
think after we finish episode 8 we should do an episode of theories and base it off of, okay, here is what we know as writers, how would we continue the storyline. But anyway, to go back to that meet cute, it's not just the Ghoul and it's not just Lucy. Max is also there. So he's trying to get in on this by, again, trying to do the right thing, but and it was funny because I think that this was done on purpose, where Lucy is looking at Max like a literal knight in shining armor, like, oh, who's that? Who's that? And I'm just over here like, girl, do you not see like what's right in front of you? He's wearing a fucking cowboy hat, for crying out loud. Like,
right? And like just like moment of yes ma'am for cowboys. Like,
yeah,
oh, I'm having a whole cowboy moment and I am not sorry at all.
no,
And like the cowboy hat and duster thing on Walton Goggins is just, oh my
I
God.
feel like he's one of the only people I know that can make a look like that attractive. Like, who would have? But it's like he said, it's like the swagger makes the man. I don't think anyone has Walton Goggins swagger. So,
Right? Like
so yeah.
look, Alabama boys are built different. Let me just state that now. As a native Alabamian, Alabama boys are built different and the swagger is real. And like, oh God, I love him in that cowboy hat and duster. It is just fantastic in so many ways.
Yeah. Um, so we have the meet cute, we have the exchange, and then what happens, Chelsea? What does Lucy decide to do?
Since Wilzig can get her closer to Moldaver and potentially her father, she decides to help him try to, get across the shithole.
She takes the bounty, essentially, right?
Takes the bounty,
Yeah.
pretty much, and decides to help him get to Moldaver and starts helping him across the desert. And I loved the twist that they put in at the end of the episode here with him taking the cyanide pill because he knows he's never going to make it with this new prosthetic leg that he's put on and he's bleeding profusely.
What happened to his leg again, Chelsea?
The Ghoul shot his leg off. Shot it.
Why are we laughing about this? I don't even know.
Because I'm not right in the head. First of all, let's just go ahead and establish that. Like, I am a dark romance girly, and I am fine with Will's leg getting shot off in the furthering of my ship. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh. And so, but okay, Han Solo question: who shot first, Lucy or the Ghoul?
Lucy definitely shot first. Lucy shot first.
But it was what, Chelsea? What did she shoot?
She shot him with a trank dart. Like that was gonna do anything. Like that's
the cutest thing in the world.
And I love how he just like plucks it out of his chest and he's like actually laughing as he flicks it away and says, like it's a very small drop in a very big bucket of drugs. Like I died laughing. That was such an excellent moment.
And you expect me not to ship this. That's the thing. Like you cannot be watching this and thinking father-daughter or BFFs. Like you cannot, like it's too good. Like it's just too good. Anyway,
the chemistry is just too much there for like an actual ship.
Yeah.
Like with him pulling that trank dart out and like the way he looked at her and that lopsided grin and like just the face he made, sir.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Whew. Focus. We got to be professional. Okay. Okay. So the Ghoul gets tied up with Max, right? And that right. Lucy kind of gets Wilsig and
smuggles him out of Philly.
Right.
And like they start out across the shithole. And then like they did that little twist where he knows he's not gonna make it on this new prosthetic leg and he's bleeding out and he's miserable and it's gonna be easier for her if she just takes his head. So he takes the Vault Tech Plan D, which I love that Plan D for death.
Yeah.
Cyanide pill.
Yep.
And gives her, that little chainsaw thing that he had in his bag and tells her like you need to just cut my head off and take my head.
Right. And I think that was really because I feel like as writers, we are very familiar with structure, with plot. I wouldn't necessarily say cliches, but certain things that go along with certain like the hero's journey or whatever. We can kind of predict what's going to happen. And so when we had this meet cute with, you know, Cooper and Lucy, like, as we loved it, but it wasn't necessarily completely unexpected. We knew the chemistry was going to be insane. We already knew that they probably were on two separate sides. But this twist with Wilson, like, it just, I wasn't expecting it. And so
Right? I
that's
wasn't
another
expecting it
thing.
either. And
That's
that's
another
hard to
thing.
do with me
Exactly.
because, like, I'm a developmental editor. I see stuff coming in books all the time when they come across my desk. Like, if you can manage to surprise me as a writer, you're
Hmm.
doing an incredible job. And that twist with Wilzig taking the cyanide pill
Yeah.
and telling her to cut his head off, like, that was chef's kiss. That was good, good work.
Right. And we believe it. You know what I mean? And so it wasn't like a random plot twist that you're just kind of like, okay, this doesn't even make sense. But it made sense within the context of, we saw Wilsick, we saw where he came from, we saw that he already kind of interacted with Lucy, and maybe he got a feel for her, like he could trust her. And
Yep.
so when he decides to kill himself, that was a big choice because he had to trust that his head would get to Moldaver. And, you know, he trusted her enough to do that. Obviously, he had no intention of his leg getting blown off, but because he came equipped with this stuff, it's almost like he prepared for the worst. And
Right.
I
He
do,
appeared for every eventuality.
oh yeah, for sure. And I do think that part of him too wanted to prepare, like, if it was going to be anyone, he trusted her with the dog too. Because if you remember, at this point, he thinks that his dog is dead. But once Lucy and Wilsick leave, Cooper sees that C404 is still actually alive. And so the first thing he does is he takes the dog and brings it into Ma Jun's place, gives it the stim pack, and saves the dog. And so the dog kind of sticks around because now he's looking for the head, and Cooper wants the dog because the dog is going to lead him to not Janie, gosh, to Lucy, who has the head. And I just thought that that was really brilliant writing right there
It was
because,
genius writing
yeah,
because he can tell himself that it is about tracking down
yep,
Wilzig, but also he wants that companionship.
right.
He definitely is missing Roosevelt in some part of his soul, and he wants the companionship of the dog too, whether he'll admit it to himself or not, and that's good writing.
Yeah. And because, again, to go back to that cause and effect, or that make it make sense, it makes sense. It's not like, oh, the ghoul is suddenly sentimental for his dog. There is an actual purpose behind even saving the dog, but also to pair with the dog. And that is really, really important. Now, after this whole thing, what's going on with Max? What is he doing?
Um, I love I love that as a former Marine that Cooper disabled the armor
Yes.
and had that line about you read the instruction manual.
Yes.
And so Maximus has like flown off and just like gotten stranded elsewhere and he's got to
Wait,
now fix the armor, but that's in the next episode.
I need to cut you off really quick because, again, to go back to shipping, a man who knows how to read the instruction manual and a boy who might not be familiar with the instruction manual. Who am I shipping her with? Is it the smartass who knows what the fuck is up with the suit? Or is it the boy who runs in a little prematurely and realizes, oh shit, I can't actually handle this. I'm trying to be cool in front of this girl. Like, I'm so, no shade to Max, but I'm like, the, and I don't know if the writers are doing this intentionally, where it's like because automatically as humans, we're going to make comparisons, right? And I don't necessarily,
Right.
I mean, in terms of romance, but you have the one who knows the shit and makes the guy look like an idiot. And then you have the guy who maybe his heart is in the right place, but he's not stopping and thinking of what he's doing. And so, like, it just in terms of who am I leaning, like, obviously attracted. We're going to set that aside for a second. But as characters, if we're developing our characters, it's really, really hard for me to, because if you think about it, we're in episode 2. So this is around the trigger part of where they make these decisions on what they're going to do. And if we're writing a book, I'm so, like, in the romance genre, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that people can say, which I definitely don't believe, people can say that Max has age on his side in terms of whatever. I don't believe that for 1 second, but that's what people will say. Because right now, from what I have seen so far of these two characters, like if I'm going in blind, if I'm only watching up to episode 2, even up to, the end of the fight, why am I going to want Lucy to be with a boy who can't actually save her? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying he has to save her, but Cooper can. He has the ability, he has the street smarts, he has the skill, he knows these suits. And clearly, because, like you mentioned, he's a former Marine who wore the suits during the actual, or I think he wore the 45s, right? Did he wear
Right, he wore the
T60s? Okay.
45s, I believe,
But
but
yeah,
they
yeah,
didn't update them or fix that
right,
weakness.
right,
So, like, he still knows that the weakness is there, and, like, he can tell that this kid doesn't know how these things work.
right. And I feel like, I, we're all different, right? But I just feel like, again, it's that Gaston who doesn't know how to read versus the Beast who doesn't know how to read, but he's willing to be taught. I mean, granted, Cooper already knew all of those things, but it's sort of like Gaston is going in to propose to Belle right away, not realizing that he's actually doesn't know anything about her, doesn't know what the hell he's even doing. And
Right.
I feel that's very similar to how Max wanted to be cool. So in a way, the act of going in to save Lucy was selfish because he genuinely wasn't necessarily trying to save her. He's trying to build up this reputation of, I want her to like me, or I want these people to like me. I want to be a badass in the suit. I want to actually be able to use this suit and to be a knight. So I feel like even the act of going into this battle itself is selfish, and it's
Yeah,
not
he's
with
trying to
those good
impress
intentions.
people.
Yeah, and he's trying to, it's almost like that power complex of, like, now that I have the suit, I'm gonna go and use it. Like, I'm gonna go and do all of these things because I can, because I have power, because I have this suit.
Right, and
Lucy,
who's gonna stop me now that I have the suit?
exactly. Well, Cooper did, bitch. So,
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
well,
Point
and
Cooper.
yeah, exactly. And so we have Lucy who interjects because of that naive, genuine, she genuinely does not like conflict. She wants to help. Max doesn't want to necessarily help. I mean, maybe part of him genuinely does, but it's more of that power now that he is a knight. Now that he has what he wants to go after that power. He wants these people to be in awe of him, to thank him. Because if you think about it, he was that kid in the fridge, like, who just kind of stepped out. He had nobody. And I think this is his way of trying to search for that acceptance, that acknowledgement, that respect. But he's
Right.
the choices that he is making are very selfish. And again, this is really, really brilliant writing, because as of right now, I don't hate Max. I don't agree with the choices that he's making. And part of me still wants to be like, okay, I'm really hoping you're going to do the right thing. But I also understand, you know what? He might not do the right thing. And that might be an interesting show to watch too, especially when you have foils like Cooper and Lucy. Um, so yeah, so we have Max doing that. Is he got his ass handed to him. He got embarrassed by Cooper essentially. And Cooper saves the dog. And I honestly love that Lucy has to cut off the head. I feel like this is the first time she has to get her hands dirty. Like
Right.
she
And
doesn't
I
want
love
to.
that she has her little okie dokie and
Yeah.
like she's getting into it. And I love that like how the tone of the okie dokie changes in
Yep.
every single episode in the show. It is so fucking fantastic. Like genuinely incredibly acted on Ella Purnell's part. Like
Hmm.
the incredibly directed, incredibly written. Like this show is genuinely fantastic and I love what they've done with it. Like Fallout 4 is my favorite of the games, and I just absolutely love the whole entire vibe of the show. Like, my husband's not a gamer, he doesn't play, but he loved the show also. He
Hmm.
really enjoyed it. He's super looking forward to season 2, and I'm glad that that's something that we got to share, even though he's not. Like, I'm glad that they made it so that people, even if you didn't play the games, that you can be into this show and that you can
Yep.
enjoy it also.
Yep. And that's me. I'm not a gamer. I wanted to watch it ever since I saw a little bit of a preview and I was just like Lucy and the Ghoul. Like I need to see how that happens. And once I heard reviews about how the writing itself is good because I feel nowadays it's very hit or miss. You could have like without I'm not trying to talk shit on a lot of things, but if you have The Witcher, like you had an actor like Cavill, and it's Cavill, I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh, but like that show had so much potential, and it's frustrating because it's like instead of just sticking with the games or that world or being true to the lore, shit happened where even Henry's like, I can't do this. It's not authentic to the show that I thought I was going to sign up for. And so it's like you could have the best chemistry, you can have the best actors, but if the writing is not on point, that is not going to save your show. Like your show is not going to do well. And I'm just really glad as of right now that the entire first season for me, and maybe I need to go back and rewatch and just but I feel like it's flawless. Like even House of Dragon season 1, they had really good episodes and then they had a few episodes where I was just like this is not what I thought was going to happen. I just again, and when I talk about bad writing, what I'm saying specifically is you are building your characters from that get-go. And if they start making choices that don't align with the character that you have built, that is not good writing to me because I may
Right.
not be that writer, but I know your character based on the evidence you've already given regarding those
And
characters.
your consumers will call bullshit on you when you do
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
And well, that's something that Prime has been really strong about in their first seasons of shows.
Hmm.
With writing absolutely being flawless. The first season of Fallout, yes, absolutely. I feel like the show was flawless. It was
Yeah,
incredible. First season of Reacher,
yeah,
flawless.
yeah,
Fucking fantastic. I
yeah,
loved every single bit of that show.
yeah. I love
It
that show
was
too.
excellent. Like, my
So,
husband and I rewatch Reacher like way more than we should, honestly.
I mean, there's something in there for everyone though. Let's be
Yes,
real.
exactly. Like, it's fantastic.
But yeah, and so I think that what I love about the scene of Lucy just having to cut off the head, like, because you think, I feel like there are so many cliches that go with that naive, innocent girl. But I love, okay, she's not a virgin, she's willing to
Right.
do her duty, which we kind of already talked about, but not only willing, happily will do her duty for the good of the vault. And now she realizes, okay, if I want to get to my, like, it's that genuine optimism. And so she's like, she's not going to like cutting off the head, but she's not going to be prissy about it. She's
Right.
not going to try to find someone to do it for her. She's not going to sit and feel sorry for herself. She's going to get it done because she
She's
wants to go see her dad.
she's the kind of girl that'll step up. She'll step into the batter's
Yep.
box and take a swing. And that's, that was the thing that Lake said he loved about her. Like, he loved that she wasn't one of those ninnies that's going to try to avoid the responsibility. He loves that she'll pull the trigger
Right.
when she's under duress. He loves that she'll step up and cut that guy's head off.
Yeah.
And I love that about her too. Like, she will step up
And
She will rise to the occasion every time. Even if she doesn't like it, she will rise to the occasion. And that's what makes her a fantastic character.
right, and she's not a badass. Like she's not going to be super skilled on how to cut off heads or how to even fire a gun. When she shoots at the ghoul, she still genuinely doesn't want to kill him. She shoots him with the trank gun, like, and
Right.
she thinks that because she doesn't know any better. She thinks that that's going to help. And like, let's be real, like cards on the table, the ghoul could have killed Lucy if he really wanted to with his
Oh,
skill. He
absolutely.
didn't want to. Like, let's be honest. Um, and so I just
He was amused
oh,
by the whole situation.
oh
Like,
yeah.
he thought it was hilarious
Oh
that she
yeah.
tried to shoot him with a trank gun.
That's
He
cute
could
though.
have he could have absolutely like killed the shit out of her in the next instant if he wanted to, but instead he took a moment to like actually appreciate the humor of it
Yeah.
while he's plucking that trank dart out of himself and flicking it away like the badass he is.
Yeah, exactly. And again, that's another detail to show if you're writing a badass character or even a hero. And this is the thing that I need like all of my romance, especially my dark romance girlies to know. Cooper, his looks, I mean, I'm still like so attracted. I would let that man do to me. Anyway,
The
I'm
things I
still
would do to
attracted.
that man, let me
Yeah.
let me be clear. Both.
Um, so I feel like if you want to know how to take your character from to an alpha level, like just watch how the ghoul does it and even watch Max because that is a how not to do it. Because we think that oh, he's going to go in and save the girl. Like we don't necessarily want that to happen. We like Cooper is a smartass. He's skilled. He is patient. Like he could have done anything at any time, but he's kind of sitting back and letting things happen. He's taking everything in. He has a smartass comment for everything. And he looks at this girl, this, young woman, and he thinks that she is the cutest, annoying little shit pain in the ass that he is going to defend with his life. Like, let's be honest. And I just think like you never like what you need to know, like, okay, how do we get this in words on a page? Have him cock his head. Like, let's like cock his head. If he's like in like have him wear a cowboy hat or a duster for crying out loud, like have him be skilled, but not to the point where he has to prove anything. He already knows his own skill. He has nothing to prove. The only time he starts firing is when he's trying to get to the bounty. He's trying to get what he wants. And that is easily transferable over to a page. He doesn't
Right.
have to have the perfect face. Like again, let's go back to the ghoul himself. Like he doesn't have to be hot. I'm still going to be picturing things in my head even like especially with a face like that because he knows what it's like to not be super like traditionally attractive. And I feel like that makes him more interesting as a character because he's
Right.
had to overcome so much more. So, what about you? Do you
Not
have any
just
tips for Alpha? How do we get that on the page using Cooper as an example?
not just that, the lazy intelligence.
Oh my
Like
gosh, yes.
you can tell he is super intelligent, but he's kind of lazy about it. And I'm going to use my husband for an example for a minute. Like, I'm going to just throw his ass under the bus. Like, he is hyper intelligent. He can conceptualize things in 3D in his head, but was always forever getting in trouble in school because he was bored. And like, I see that same kind of thing
Yeah.
with Cooper Howard. Like, if he's not being challenged, he's gonna cause problems because
Yep.
he's bored. And it's that same lazy intelligence. And like, Lucy challenges
Yep.
that intelligence in him
Right.
with her outlook and with that ignorance. And I think he sees a person in her and he's like, oh, this is something that I could play with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's an actual person here, like I could teach her things.
Right.
Which, like, oh man, he could teach her things in so many different ways. And like, I would be so here for seeing that, first of all.
That's what fan fiction is for. Like, let's be honest.
Yes, ma'am.
But I also think when he initially sees Lucy, though, I think that he's amused because it reminds him so much of who he used to be, because he had so much faith in, his country, his wife, and all of these different things. And I think there is that part of him, and again, dark romance over here, that wants to crush it because he
Mhm.
hates that because he knows what it feels like to have then been betrayed and disappointed and all of these things. And I think he sees Lucy, and number one, he can't believe what's coming out of her mouth and that she genuinely believes it. But when he does process this, it's like, and that's why, and we'll get to this, in episode 3, where he says, I'm you, just give it a few, give it a years or whatever, give it a little time. And I think that it's like, it's kind of like you said, he wants to play with her. Like I think that part of him wants to push her to see how far he can get away with before she snaps. It's almost like this game that he wants to test her to be like, are you really as, nice or polite as you think? And we see a lot of that in the following episode. But I also think it's that resentment of the audacity for this girl to be so fucking innocent and vault tech, because she's clearly wearing the suit. He obviously recognizes it because he had a suit. It's and it's just, I just feel like he wants to kill that, partly because he's still angry at himself for letting him be betrayed.
Which is why in one of the later episodes he sees that billboard with Vault Boy on it doing the thumbs up thing and he shoots the face out of it.
Right.
And like that self-loathing moment, like I think he wants to crush that nonsense out of her and
Right.
like wake her up to the real world a
Yes,
bit.
but in the worst way possible. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't want to gently break it to her, because I think that if we look at these flashbacks, things were kind of being gently broken to him. Like he's having, his dinners with his friends and they're talking to him about it. He's talking to oh gosh, is it Bud, like, and they're all telling him, okay, this is how the world is changing, this is what we're planning to do, like, oh, it's not nice cowboy movies anymore, you have to shoot him, like, and
Right.
he feels like an idiot because it's like he wanted so badly to believe that he was doing the right thing. Like he's only involved in Vault Tech because Barb wanted him to be involved in Vault Tech.
Right. Am I the only one who has the theory that it was Barb's idea that they can't have pets in the vault?
Oh, I for sure think that they can't. It was her idea. Like I don't see how that's just a headcanon, but
That's an absolute headcanon for me. Like I feel like that was her idea. I feel like she didn't like Roosevelt and like she was the one that made that decision that like pets don't make sense in the vault. You can't have pets in the vault. I feel like that was her hateful ass.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I hate Barb with every fiber of my being. Cooper Howard deserved so much better.
Yeah.
Like I have big feelings about it.
Oh yeah.
Which
And
is
it'll
why
be
I really, really, really hope like if anyone from Prime ever listens to this podcast, please, for the love of God, do not make Cooper Howard reconcile with Barb. Whatever
well,
you do,
I
do
know.
not
And
make that
I
happen.
I am so I am so worried that they're gonna try to do like that redemption bullshit. And I'm just kind of like, I don't want there are certain villains that I don't need to have a redemption arc for. I want them to lean in and be a bad guy. Like that would make her character so much more compelling. If she stayed that villain, if she stayed true to what she believed.
Right.
And I think that having, I think it was very telling, and this is something we will definitely go into in episode 8, when Cooper does say, where the fuck is my family? And not where the fuck is my daughter? Where the fuck is my family? Um, and that's the thing that makes me hesitate like 2%, because I'm like, why do you need to, unless he wants to know where Barb is so he can kill
So
her
he can get
himself,
Jane. Oh,
or
like
yeah, so
please
he can,
God, please. I would be so here to watch that. Also, another showdown that I would be 1,000% here to watch. Like I would love to watch Lee Moldaver tear Barb apart.
oh yeah, I would love that too.
That would be amazing. But like, I would love it even more, I think, if we got to see Cooper Howard take Barb the fuck out.
I think it's like to go to Game of Thrones, right? Like you have the oh my gosh, you have what's the Ice King guy? Like I can't believe I don't know his name. Like
It's been so long.
I know, right?
It's
I
in like
blocked
my
that
brain.
season from
Like
my head, but it's like, okay,
I couldn't see anything happening in that season because
oh,
they
I
filmed it
know.
all so dark. So like I just don't like it's not there.
But I feel like Arya took him out. And the way the story had developed, I think everyone can agree, as badass as it was for Arya to have taken him out, it should have been Jon. And so
Right.
my thing is, Arya didn't earn that. And so when we go to look at Cooper and Barb and taking out these things, unless it's Lucy saving Cooper by taking out Barb in some way, Cooper needs to take out Barb. It has to come from
Because
him.
he's the
It's
one that's earned it.
yeah, and he needs to be the one to decide. I can't go back to my past. I can't. I have to like I okay, it's like Cooper right now is completely avoiding who he was in the past. This is why he has such a contention for Lucy, and we're going to see that in episode 3 because she does remind him of him. But the issue is now it's like okay, hypothetical. And Lucy's actual trajectory is mirroring this because her dad she's on the search for her dad. And when she sees her dad, she's seeing all of the memories that they had together. But when Moldaver is telling her, actually, this is what happened to your mom, and this is what happened during that so called plague, and this is what all of those memories are tainted. And so now it's the question of what is Lucy going to do when she sees her dad again, having been betrayed? So if you see again this mirroring plot of Cooper was betrayed by Barb, Lucy is betrayed by her dad, what's going to happen when they come with those people again? And I don't want it to be okay, we can redeem these two people. I don't want it to be oh, that goodness of we can forgive. I think that Lucy can still retain the core of who she is as a character and choose either to forgive her dad but to never want to associate with him again, to forgive her dad but have to kill him, but to pretend that none of it happened and reconcile with him. I do not agree with that as of how they've
Yeah.
laid it out. And I feel the same exact way for Cooper and Barb, even though we haven't seen that messy divorce yet. And I do think that we are going to in season 2. You know, I think that you cannot, if Cooper Howard has to work kids' birthday parties for alimony, how much did she take from him? Let's be honest.
Right.
And
Yeah.
not only that, but he was probably ousted from Hollywood because he didn't want to play into Vault Tech anymore. And since Vault Tech has everything, she not only took the money that he had made from his previous films, but the ability to even work in Hollywood again. And so she wouldn't let his damn dog into the vault, and she takes the dog. As far as we know, there is the assumption that Janie is with Barb. How she gets to Barb, I have no idea, because when we see Cooper at the beginning of episode 1, the bombs drop and Janie is with him. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but when Cooper in episode 8 is like, where the fuck is my family? He is assuming that Janie and Barb are together. And so I don't think that Barb has earned a redemption. Even if, like, everything that's happened, Hank hasn't earned it after dropping the bombs on, Shady Sands, and Barb hasn't earned it. And so I don't care how many animals they're going to save. I do not think that they earn that redemption. And if they get it, if even one of them gets it, I don't think I am going to want that. And especially if Cooper gets back with Barb to get his family back, or Lucy decides to stick with her dad. I don't think that that's going to happen. I'm not as concerned about Lucy and her dad the way that I am for Cooper and Barb, but I'm hoping that with the addition of C404, dog meat, whatever you want to call her, Cooper is starting to build a new family, one that
Right.
accepts him for who he
I
is.
want the found family to be Cooper and Lucy and CX404. Like I
Yeah,
want that to be the unit so bad, and I'm
right.
ship Cooper and Lucy so hard. Like, please God, if you ever give me anything in a show,
Yeah.
give me this.
Right. And so I just think that the like I said, the writing is so good as of right now, but there are those little niggles of doubt because we don't have all of the information yet. But as a whole, in terms of okay, second episode in, it's very interesting to see so far all of the characters have a relatively steady trajectory. Um, and so if we're talking about plotting wise, like this would be the trigger, this would be the call to adventure, if you will, like where they make the choice or they are forced into this choice of there's no return here. We are now on this sort of like mission. When Lucy cuts the head off of gosh,
Will dig.
Wilson, yeah. She has made the choice that she's going to do whatever it takes to get her father. And when Cooper saves the dog, he's going to go after that head in no matter like in what way to get to his family. And then even Max to a degree, like he has that armor. And so now he has to go back and get the head too because he needs it to bring it back to the brotherhood because he thinks that that's going to be his saving grace of not being honest with them about, oh, by the way, the freaking knight died, you know? And
Right.
this is the sketchy thing about Max that he is very good at lying. Maybe not good as in, okay, we can say that it's bullshit, but it just comes so easily to him
Right.
no matter who he's talking to. It could be Lucy, it could be the Brotherhood, it could be Dane, it could be any of these people. And all he's doing is lying to protect his own ass. And we will talk about this as the series keeps going, but he does not change. I do not see a growth. He continues to make those choices to lie to protect himself. And that is why Chelsea and I think that he is at the very core selfish. And so this is why he's our guest on. This is why he would make a very good villain because even at the end of season 1, you still have people who could potentially be rooting for him because he hasn't actually done anything. He's done questionable things, but you can rationalize them. And I think that, again, that's very, very smart writing because it puts the viewer, or if you're writing a book, the reader in a position of, okay, I wouldn't have done that, but I could understand why he did it. And that is the
Exactly.
essence of that perfect villain. Um, so as we wrap up episode 2, do you have any final thoughts?
Not really, aside from the fact that I just absolutely loved the chemistry in that meet cute and like I don't understand how like if the writers themselves are not shipping Lucy and Cooper, like how can you play that kind of chemistry on screen and not be shipping them? Like did you see what you were filming? Because that chemistry was incredible.
Yeah,
And like I was shipping them before the show even started, like in the previews and promo pics, like you said.
yeah,
But that meet cute really solidified it for me with the head tilt and like the eyebrow arch and the half smile and like
yeah.
all of it. Like,
Well, and
mm,
just her like innocent, like earnestness in her eyes, like she genuinely wants to like the thing I loved, to go back to it really quick, she's not disgusted by him, she's not sickened by his appearance, she's not scared of his, like she's intimidated for sure, but that's because he's holding a fucking gun. Like
right.
she's not judging him based on his appearance. And I think that that is so it's chef's kiss. And especially as much as I hated watching it, and my husband is such a troll because he already knew I was shipping Ghoul and freaking Lucy. And so when he was seeing Lucy like kind of go moon eyes for Max during that part, he was like nudging me like, oh look, what's going on with your ship? And I'm like, just it's a slow burn, it's a slow burn, it's gonna happen. But it's like I feel like that is such a callback to even Game of Thrones, where Sansa is getting ready to, like to meet Joffrey, who's so handsome. And this is supposed to be her knight in shining armor, her Prince Charming, if you will. And Prince Charming is supposed to be handsome. He's supposed to treat the girls right, his bride or whatever. And she winds up not marrying Joffrey, but getting together with Tyrion. And I forgot to mention that that is also one of my ships, Tyrion and Sansa, when she is of age. Let's not make it weird. But it's like the that contrast of like the guy who actually is right for you isn't going to be that typically good looking guy. And I think that that is why, if the writers really follow through with this, her thinking she thinks Max is the right guy for her because he's clean cut. He supposedly does all of the right things, like swoop in and try to rescue her. He is literally a knight, you know, in shining armor. And
And like, let's
she,
be clear, Maximus is handsome, of
yes,
course.
of course. And exactly because he is that classically attractive, you know, good-looking guy, on paper, let's tick off the boxes, but she is going to realize after spending that quality time with the ghoul when they go off on their little buddy adventure together, that actually she doesn't want that. And again, it's even a callback to that first episode where Norm is like, well, what if he's ugly? What if he's a cannibal? What if he's this? And she's just like, well, he's gonna be whatever. And it's like, no, it's very Beauty and the Beast. It's very much like, it's not what you think you want, it's what you need. And as writers, this is what our job is, to give our characters. And Sansa didn't need Joffrey, she needed Tyrion. Like, and I honestly feel Lucy doesn't need Maximus, she needs the ghoul. And the
I
ghoul
agree.
needs her too. So
Absolutely. Yes.
yeah.
I'm
So
excited for episode 3. How about you?
um that is literally oh my gosh. I feel like if they didn't, I mean, I don't know. I honestly want to ask the writers, like, hey, like, I'm sure the scripts were written beforehand, I would assume. But then you see that play out. Part of me is just like, okay, you know what you're working with here. So, and the thing is, if you go on like AO3 or like fan fiction websites, you're gonna see a dominant ship. And I'm not saying, again, I am not saying force the fan service, just do it in a way that serves the story. And I feel like right now, Ghoul, Ghoul Lucy or Vault Ghoul, that is the dominant ship right now. And I feel like with the amount of thirst, you know, TikToks and all of that stuff that's going on, the writers can't be ignorant about it at this point. And now my curiosity is like, okay, now the writers are in this position of, do we continue on with the story as is? Do we give a little bit of fan service, or do we nip the ship in the bud because that's not what we ever intended? So we are going to fuck it all up the way I have a feeling House of Dragon is going to do it. But um I'm hoping that they stick with it. And if they're smart, they're gonna utilize Walton Goggins and Ella and just that chemistry and really play into it. If you don't give us the
Right.
ship, if you don't sail our ship, fine, but don't fucking shoot it down either. Like that, just give me that ambiguous ending without, oh, she reminds me of my daughter. Oh, Cooper's sailing into the sunset with Barb, or oh, Max and like Lucy are together forever. And I just if, as long as none of that happens and you still don't want to give me a solidifying relationship between Vault and the Ghoul, I'll be okay with that. I won't necessarily be like jumping up and down, but just don't fuck with what you have. Like, you have great writing, and even better, the chemistry between the actors. Let's not
Right.
fuck this up.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Exactly. And like, I just like you said, don't force the fan service. Make it make sense in the context of the story, but I would genuinely love it if we got Ghoulsy or Vault Ghoul, whichever way we want to go with it. Like, I think that would slap so hard. It would serve like nobody's business. But like, don't force it also. Like, make it make sense in the context of the story, or don't give it to me at all.
right. Well, don't Raylo it. Like, don't do it where you either felt you had to, so the whole botch storyline is complete shit, or like you said, just don't do it at all. And so that's my thing, is just, and because they're alone going on this road, like this walk trip, whatever you want to call it, there's going to be so much potential for character growth and relationship growth between the two of them. And the thing that really frustrates me with these like TV shows who want to preach like morality and everything like that, if both characters are of consenting age and they're both attractive people, you cannot tell me that attraction does not cross their minds at some point. If we're talking reality, right? Like if I'm traveling with a hot dude, and obviously in this little fantasy, I'm single, it's like there's going to be attraction. I'm not saying it's ever acted upon, but if you're looking at me and you're telling me that, oh no, they would never feel anything for each other, I'm going to be like, that's not believable. You fucking have Walton Goggins and you're telling me that she's not going to be attracted to him? Like, fuck off, first of all. Like, don't treat me like I'm a fucking moron, So give me, like, I thirst for that slow burn, that angst, that agonizing, like just fucking kiss, but then I don't want them to kiss kind of stuff. Like I love that torturous drowning on of it, as long as we're getting development between the characters. And I think that there's so much potential for what they could do. So I just don't want it to like,
I don't want it to be forced, and I don't
yeah,
want them to watch it.
yeah, I want them to naturally, and if they continue writing the way that they are, they will. They already do that in episode 3. We already see it in episode 3. And that's what I want them to continue to do, is that sort of episodes between Lucy and, the ghoul. So yeah, so I think that when we come back to episode 3, we're gonna have a lot more to talk about, just in terms of understanding who these characters are as individuals, but how both of them play off of each other to, as we like to say in the writing community, to give each other what they need and not what they want. And this really, really helps solidify character arcs, character development, and growing together. And I think that this is why so many people do ship Ghoul and Lucy, because they can see that they bring out they have the potential to bring out the best in each other. So yeah, any more final thoughts, Chelsea?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, awesome. So we will see you in the next episode. Leave us a comment. Why don't you pick the question that they should be answering, because you did a good one last time. What do you think? What should they comment with this time?
Okay, do you prefer slow burn or fast burn ships?
Ooh,
Let us know in the comments.
I'm a slow burn girl. What about you, Chelsea?
Oh, it depends on my mood. Like, I appreciate a slow burn to a point, but there's times where I'm like, no, give it to me.
What about you guys? What do you guys prefer? Leave us a comment and we will see you next time. All right. Bye.
Bye.